all their locomotives right here in Scranton in that building. And it's still used today, not by the railroad, but by General Dynamics. It's actually an Army installation. And they make the cannon shells for the 35mm cannons. They fire projectiles out of right here. So you'll see barbed wire and razor wire and everything around it. It's still used today, but it was originally the locomotive shops.
Now, the gauge, the track gauge, is that the same as a regular?
The track gauge is the same as the regular railroad. These cars, though, when they came up from Philadelphia, are what they call white gauge. They were a wider gauge because when they ran in Philadelphia, they were competing with the Pennsylvania Railroad. And to keep the Pennsylvania Railroad from riding on their right-of-ways and their trackage, they simply made the gauge wider. Pennsylvania Railroad was standard gauge. So that was their way of kind of taking care of that problem. You can't run on our railroad because you'd have to retruck all your equipment. This is where I'm going to get off. And again, these two crossings, we're going to stop and flag. And then as we go by, you're going to see the buildings here on the right. One is our substation where we get our electricity, and the other one is a car barn where we have a couple of other cars that we store in there right now. It's a storage facility.
Well, I'm going to put it on, I'll put it on. Want to put it on? Okay.
I get so annoyed about there being advertising on everything.
Yeah.
You know, almost 100 years ago, it was the same way. I guess not quite as bad, but.
Ronnie said between the other cars.
At least it didn't pop out at you.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, that'll go.
Yeah, if you're going
Sure,
over,
the one that put ads, sell advertisements, like high schools, and why does it stop?
Yeah.
I personally try not to do it.
And that one is low.
It annoys me.
That's what's good about that.
That
Take care of that one. This one you gotta pay attention a little bit to.
There's the substation gauge. Now on the left-hand side, that parking lot that you see, that's where the Laurel Line. We're going to be traveling on some of their trackage, the Laurel Line Railroad. That's where they have their station. You can loop in, loop out. The large building also on the left is the DL&W Railroad Station, and that today is the Radisson Hotel. They have a hotel on it. You can get a train either to Buffalo or to New York City from that station up to about 1971. To the right, going by a little spur there and a little station, that is actually one of Scranton's very first industries. It was called Scranton Iron Furnaces, and they made a lot of the rail for the Erie Railroad, some for the Transcontinental Railroad right here in Scranton. Little large, probably worth big holes in the ground, large blast furnaces. And Scranton's first industry basically put them on the map. Also to our right, Roaring Brook, and today it actually is roaring after the storms last night. All of the concrete work that you see and are going to see were put in after the 1955 flood. Hurricane Diane came through here, pretty much wiped out all of South Scranton. That's the section of the city that we're in, South Scranton. And this was the flood protection that they put in, so hopefully it won't happen again. Normally it's tame, but when we get a lot of runoff, it comes down from a large dam up above, and it gets pretty wild at times. Now on the old lower line would be right up above us on the left. It would run right against that retaining wall that you see. And that road's called Loreline Drive now. This was actually just an old service track. And this was, of course, now we use as the main. The large building that you're going to see ahead of you, the blue color, that was where the Loreline had its shops. They did all the work on their cars in that building. And today the building is still used by, not by the railroad, by a manufacturing plant, a plastic manufacturing plant. And the covered hopper cars are going to pass here. Also go up to a plastic manufacturing plant, but they go up about 3 miles up above us. And when we get it out ahead, I'll show you where these cars go. And they're very heavy cars. They weigh about 280,000 pounds apiece. And inside these cars are little tiny plastic pellets. There's millions of them in every single car. And they suck them out of the bottom of the car, put them in silos, and they're used in manufacturing today decking for homes. That's the latest thing if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's. Build your deck out of plastic, and that's what this stuff is used for now. That's the old shops there at Loreline. Again, that is a plastic manufacturing plant itself. I think they make film for cameras and things like that with plastic. They'll pop. Now, coming up on our left, you're going to see an entrance to an old coal mine. That's coming up right about here. You're going to see the gates. And there it is. And that's what we call Dunmore number 5 shaft that runs underneath the city of Scranton, underneath the university, and goes out to the city of Dunmore. Now, last used in the 1960s when they were refilling the mines with column. That's the waste from the coal lakes. See all those big black mountains around here. They're backfilling it with water and column to support everything from all the mining that was done here. Anthracite coal, that's what they mine here. We're going to be stopping here for a moment on the bridge, and again to your left you're going to see a beautiful view of our waterfall, which has plenty of water coming out of it today. It's about a 3-story waterfall, and we're downstream of Nahok Park. Nahok Park's a famous park here in the city. And that concrete bridge that you see up above, that's the Harrison Avenue Bridge. And if it looks familiar, it's modeled after the famous Nicholson Viaduct. That's up in Nicholson, Pennsylvania. It's also called the Tunkhannock Viaduct, the largest railroad concrete bridge in the world. That's the miniature version. Same architect designed that bridge. Now we're going to enter the tunnel, and this is called the Crown Avenue Tunnel. It's about a mile long, and it runs directly underneath Crown Avenue. This tunnel was built between 1904 and 1905. When we go into the tunnel, we'll be about 180 feet deep. When we exit, we're going to be about 90 feet deep. We're actually going uphill. This one is a mile long.
26 years old, and it cost about $1 million to build it back in 1905. 1 year to build it, basically it's all done by hand. Just taking the spoils out with mules and carts and dynamite with loaded rock.
Now, is there a building profile, or is it just going through?
It's just natural like that.
Okay.
Yep. This next tunnel, this one's Stafford Avenue, and this one was built back in 2001. This one cost about 2.3 million.
Not as long.
No, it's amazing. This is all you get for 2.3 million today's standards.
Yeah.
Now, as we go through on our right-hand side, you're going to see a large cemetery. It's called St. Mary's Cemetery, and it's basically on the hillside up there. And we're going to also